but I think he's eating at the moment. So without further ado, I'm just going to put the link out, inshallah. Let's get this show on the road. So any non-Muslims are welcome now to come onto the stream to challenge Islam.
Okay, challenge accepted. Please.
Because I wanted people to come on to challenge Islam with the best argument they got. I want to see them come and stretch the panelists, yeah? And at the same time, I want to see the panelists respond to whatever claim comes towards them from every single angle. So basically, it just demolishes that particular point. And then what I will do, I will take all the academia that's on show, I will make it succinct, I'll relate it to the lay people. So I'm like a conduit. Do you get me? Sure. So if you're confident in your claims, welcome. Yeah, but we're here to counter your claims. And we're here to demonstrate, and this is what we've done every time on the arena. We're here to demonstrate there is no claim against Islam that can be substantiated, which can be upheld, to challenge the reality and the truth of Islam. Do you get me? People have tried and failed. People might come to try to present.
Okay, we accept your challenge. Let me disprove Islam with the first 8 words of the Quran. Hamza. In the name of Allah, the entirely merciful. Islam disproven. What entirely merciful? He burns people for eternity. What entirely? Entirely merciful. He is entirely unmerciful. When he burns people for eternity, he is entirely unmerciful. So, Islam disproven from the first 8 words of the Quran. Okay. In the name of Allah, the end, disproven. Okay. That was Islam. It cannot even handle itself to pass the first 8 words. Okay. Don't confuse your delusion with reality. Okay.
Oh, okay. So your position right now, you believe in God, don't believe in God?
No, I'm a naturalist, physicalist. No God, no supernatural, no heaven, hell, ghosts, demons, jinns, nothing supernatural.
Wait, but you're also an existentialist, so how does that factor in? It seems like contradictory philosophies.
I call myself an existential naturalist. I basically take the word existential to mean that I value the deeper meanings in life, right? I want to consider the moral questions, how best to live your life, be a good person, be kind to other people. I have a beautiful wife in the other room, I just want to be a good person, right? And I didn't leave Christianity and go into all kinds of debauchery or whatever. It was just, I lost my faith. And yeah, so the thing for me is really the where Christianity and the Abrahamic faiths come from, their very early history. And some of the claims, so some of the claims of, I know that you guys are quite anti-evolution from what I gather, right?
Anti-evolution, where'd you get that? What do you mean by that?
Correct or not?
What do you mean by anti-evolution?
You've made quite a number of anti-evolution videos that I've watched.
Anti-evolution videos? I don't think we've made anti-evolution videos.
Has anyone here made anti-evolution videos? I haven't. Hashim, Sharif, Danile?
We had 4 episodes. Go and watch them.
Daniel's guilty. Daniel, you're the one, man.
Yeah, Daniel is the guy who makes the argument that people who believe in evolution are indoctrinated, when in fact all the evidence are against evolution. And in the same video, guys, after a couple of seconds, he says, we reject evolution because of the Quran. In the same video, after a couple of seconds, he accused atheists of being blind, believing in evolution because of indoctrination. And after a couple of seconds, he makes a statement. I reject evolution because of the Quran. Okay, we are talking about this kind of idiot. Okay, that is the next video I will do. It will be on this on this video. Anyway, let's continue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My fault.
So yeah,
how do you
then
understand
the
okay,
main
let's
thing
put it this
was
way then.
Yeah.
How do you
Sorry,
understand
Trevor.
evolution?
Yeah, so before we go into evolution, Trevor, I just want to understand, why are you a naturalist, but at the same time looking for deeper meaning in life? At the same time, also being a nihilist as well, because nihilism, in essence, is say there is no meaning in life.
yeah, there's no intrinsic or objective meaning in life, but
Yeah.
you can still create, and I believe that we all actually create a subjective meaning to our lives, and it's not necessarily one meaning to your life. Like right now we're all talking to each other, we're conversing. This can be something interesting for you, so it can be, your dawah can be a part of the meaning of your life, right? But you can also
But
have meaning
Trevor,
of your
yeah.
life with your family and friends, some hobbies, those types of things bring value to your life. But
Yeah,
ultimately,
but Trevor, the problem is though, is that on the one hand you're a physicalist, and the second,
Yeah.
and then the other hand you're talking about some level of subjective meaning. Now, if you're trying to apply some sort of subjective meaning, are you saying that this meaning transcends the physical world?
Okay, let me tell you how that works, Sharif. First of all, meaning is a product of consciousness. Meaning is when we compute patterns in the environment, and then we have a sentiment. From the time we have consciousness in the universe, we have meaning in the universe. And yet meaning is only subjective, because meaning can only be personal. Okay. Now you know, Sharif. Please, continue.
The physicality, i.e., or are we just simply products of matter in motion, non-conscious matter that interacts with one another?
no, I mean, we are conscious. A basis of naturalism is that we are all rational, conscious beings, and I share a reality with you.
No, I
So-
understand that, but what I'm saying is this: is obviously you understand this idea of the hard problem of consciousness. Yeah, the idea that consciousness, there is a difficulty reducing it to the physical. Yeah, but when we
Sure.
start talking about meaning and aesthetics and value, all of these things, they transcend the material.
We have physical and mental objects. Both are part of the natural world. Consciousness gives rise to mental concepts and ideas, and the physical world, through our brain, gives rise to consciousness. That is the naturalistic position.
If you're saying no, all of these things, all of the things that occur within our head that we assign to as having value and meaning, and even subjective meaning, and even giving ourselves meaning, seems to indicate that we are more than just non-conscious material that's interacting with other non-conscious material. Yeah. Yes, we might
Why?
turn around and say this creates some sort of consciousness, but ultimately, under an identity theory of consciousness, everything you think of is reducible to some sort of non-conscious interaction. But on the same time, you want to say, no, we can talk about meaning. We can give our life meaning in a subjective way, which means, in essence, it means that you're transcending the fact that you are more than just physical.
We are more than just physical. We also have mental properties after we evolved consciousness. Okay, we are more than just physical. Okay, moronic argument number 1. Premise 1. Atheists claim we are just material. Premise 2. Yet atheists have an immaterial dimension. Conclusion. Therefore, we are not just material. Okay, straw man. Atheists, premise 1 is wrong. Atheists never claimed we are just material.
Not necessarily. I am a physicalist, so basically there's two types, completely reductionist or emergentist. Basically, consciousness is an emergent property of the physical brain, and we conceive of things through abstractions. That's
okay.
the
So when you
underlying
say
principle.
so I know emergent, reduction, eliminative, functional, different forms of how to explain consciousness. In fact, on Thought Adventure podcast, we had a whole series of topics on this particular discussion. The problem is that even if you want to hold on to an emergent theory of consciousness, it doesn't really explain where consciousness comes from.
So what? So what? We don't know where consciousness comes from. That doesn't mean God did it. You should seriously stop using God like a magic card. These guys think that whenever we don't know an answer, that means God did it. No, it doesn't. In fact, we have 1 billion examples. Every mystery in human history, every scientific mystery in human history, there was always a natural mechanism behind. So the score is 1,000,000,000. Now you say that the 1,000,000,000 one time you will win. No, the probabilities say that will be 1,000,000,010 again. That is the probabilities. So when you say we don't know, so what? That doesn't mean your position is true.
Yeah, doesn't really tell me where consciousness is. It's like saying emergent theory is like saying I have a bottle, I rub the side of the bottle and a genie pops out. Yeah, it merges from it. Yeah, I have this non-conscious physical material that interacts and then suddenly this consciousness pops out.
No, you are confused, Sharif. And this analogy you made just demonstrates the outrageous stupidity of Muslim apologists. Okay. Rubbing a bottle and a gene comes out, that's you, my friend. Because you say God spoke and consciousness appeared. Your God uses magic. Natural humanists use science and with nature try to work out how consciousness emerged in the natural world. That's the complete opposite of magic. So why you are claiming black is white and white is black? Why? Why you did that just now? To annoy me? Sorry guys that I'm condescending, but seriously, okay, let's continue.
Yeah, it's fudging the argument, and that's why I'm saying that if you want to be sincere to physicalism and naturalism, either you're reductionist or eliminative when it comes to the issue of consciousness. Yeah, meaning consciousness under eliminative would be the fact that consciousness is just really an illusion. The idea that we have this qualia is just an illusion. Yeah, or reduction is that you reduce the brain states physically and you map them directly to the conscious states. I'm just saying is that this idea of meaning, this idea of value that you want to give things, it seems to mean that you're looking at people or things or yourself as more than just a physical manifestation of non-conscious interaction of matter.
You said something about qualia. In philosophy of mind, qualia are defined as individual instances of subjective conscious experience.
In this video, we're going to be answering the question, what are qualia? And answering the also very interesting question, what is the singular of qualia? Well, qualia. So qualia are experiences we have. Often they are sense experiences. The experience of seeing red. The experience of hearing C sharp played on a pipe organ. The experience of tasting a well-made tikka masala. The feeling of being in pain and the feeling of being thirsty might also qualify as qualia. Emotional experiences or moods like anger or depression are often made up of various qualia that create that emotion or that mood. Now, qualia are not the same as properties. Something being red is not the same as someone experiencing redness. Qualia are subjective and they're personal. You might have a different experience of red than I do. Though we both might call the same text red, you might experience it as I experience blue. Similarly, it is an open question of whether a computer, for example, which could distinguish between colors, could experience qualia. And it goes into the question of, do computers have phenomenological consciousness, or would it be at some point possible for a computer to have phenomenological consciousness?
This wobbly, wrinkled pudding thing inside your skull consists of billions of nerve cells which are constantly sending and receiving information. And how is it supposed to house our consciousness? By itself? And where, exactly? Where are our perceptions and feelings? And what about our soul? Could it be that our mind is basically nothing more than our brain? In the end, is it all just matter? Is that what we are? Nothing but matter? Anyone who thinks this doesn't know Mary. She is the leading expert on the perception of color. She knows all about wavelengths, about the retina of the eye, and about how the brain processes visual stimuli. She knows all of the scientific facts and every single detail of what happens when we see color. There is one thing, though. Mary herself has never seen a colored object. Neither a red tomato, nor the blue sky. Ever since she was born, she has been in a room where there is no color. Her clothes are black and white, and her hair is black. She has only experienced black, white, and gray. She has learned everything she knows about the world and about color perception from reading books. Until one day, as if by magic, the door opens to the outside world. Mary can't believe her eyes. Suddenly, she sees what she has been researching for all those years. Color. Up till now, she has known precisely what would happen in her brain if she were to ever see color. But now, she is experiencing how it is and how it feels. Mary realizes something new about color now that she's outside. This whole time, her knowledge of color perception was incomplete. She also discovers that there are things that just cannot be perfectly explained through any kind of physical theory. Is the way that we experience the world more than just simple biochemical processes in the brain?
Sharif's argument number 2. Premise 1. Qualia cannot possibly emerge from the physical world. Conclusion, therefore, we need God doing magic to explain qualia. The problem with this argument is that the premise 1 is not substantiated. Did you see Sharif attempting to prove that qualia cannot possibly emerge from the physical world? Did he give any evidence? No. So that's an unsubstantiated premise. Our qualia experiences are limited to our brain and senses and do not represent a holistic representation of the environment, of the external world. Our sight is limited, our hearing is limited, our emotional quality is limited, etc. So, our qualia relates to our physical limitations. Okay, that's evidence that qualia is related to our physical body. Brain injuries in specific parts of the brain can affect specific character traits relating to the local brain function. Okay. That's another evidence that qualia is related to our physical brain. Animals have also a certain degree of qualia that is less to primitive species and increases as species evolve, indicating that qualia evolved together with human biological evolution. That's another evidence that qualia is related to our physical body. We know that humans evolved from bacteria. So, when did God install qualia to humans? When? 200,000 years ago. He took a population of, let's say 1 million. And in every individual he installed qualia. He came 200,000 years ago. why and why God used magic for qualia, although in all other cases he uses a natural mechanism. Why? Maybe qualia is a hard problem even for God. Why did God use magic for qualia, although for everything else he uses a natural mechanism? And suddenly he said, oh, that's a hard problem of consciousness. Now I need to use magic. Okay, that problems, that what you are saying now is demonstrates a weird incompetence of God. Okay, so that's some evidence, some arguments at least. Because your only argument was, hey, it doesn't feel like it. That was your argument. In any case, you in your arguments you have unsubstantiated premises. Let's say we don't know either way, although all the evidence goes in our side. But let's say we don't know either way. That doesn't mean that demonstrates your God. That's the God of the gaps argument.
I mean, not really. I mean, if I had to reduce it all, we're just matter in motion. But I mean, I do place higher value on humans, but that's really only because we have a better, not a better state of consciousness, but maybe a higher state of consciousness, or we have a much better neural plasticity, so it's just the ability to learn things. But I think that many animals, from whales and sea mammals to dogs and animals, monkeys, elephants, have to some degree quite a high level of consciousness, right?
Yeah, but Trevor, you just maybe to wind it back a little bit further as well, you do understand about the hard problem of consciousness.
I do. I don't think that it's actually a problem. I think it's a problem that we create for ourselves.
So it's not a problem. The hard problem. You've solved the hard problem of consciousness.
No, I don't.
Sharif's logic or argument, sorry. Premise 1, there is the hard problem of consciousness that atheists cannot solve. Premise 2, I say God did it. Conclusion, there is a God. What's wrong with this argument? It's a non sequitur. Just because you say God did it, so what? The mere fact that Muslim apologists go to scientific or mysteries, to demonstrate their God and not to things we already know, demonstrates the weakness of their argument. Why you don't choose things we already know to demonstrate your God, and you always go to mysteries? In other words, what you are saying to the world is we need to go to things we don't know to prove my God. Why? Why you need to go to things we don't yet know to prove your God? Exactly because your argument is weak. And you need ambiguity. You need things that we don't know to demonstrate your God. Because if you go to things that we know, everything that we yet know, your God was irrelevant. That's the reason. Sharif.
I don't think that we necessarily have the equipment to properly analyze it and properly figure everything out. But I think it's very clear that from when we're born, our brain creates branches in our mind, in our physical mind, which provides us with consciousness. Consciousness is kind of like I'm not a solipsist, but consciousness is really just a simulation of the environment that we have around us, taking sensory data in, processing it, using abstractions, and abstractions on top of abstractions.
But none of those things are physical.
Yeah.
Sure, I mean,
abstraction,
there's
like
lots of course.
an
Like if I say
abstraction
the
is not
number
a physical
10, the
thing.
number 10 is not physical.
So
I
how
mean,
can you be a physicalist?
a unicorn, a pink unicorn is not physical either, but consciousness is just a product of brain states, ultimately.
So mathematics is a product of brain states?
Can be, yeah.
Is truth the matter of
Depending.
brain
I mean,
states?
if you're writing something down or you're doing mathematics on a calculator, it's being done by the calculator, right? So
No, but the concept of in mathematics, those aren't what's in a calculator or computer. It's something mental. So you're saying that they're not real.
But we essentially created mathematics, the language of mathematics.
So then how does that reconcile with your physicalism? Because if you're a physicalist committed to the physical world, have you studied science? It's all about math.
Misunderstanding like a physicalist position, though. I mean, we don't.
Daniel's argument now is premise 1, logical absolutes are presupposed and they exist irrespective of the human mind. Premise 2, there must be an ultimate mind that prescribes logical absolutes. Conclusion, there must be a God. That is also the argument of Khalil I addressed in a recent video, in a recent debate, let's say, exchange I had with Khalil. Okay, the premise 2 presupposes logical absolutes are prescriptive and not descriptive. I say logical absolutes are descriptive. I say logical absolutes reflect the blunt fact that we live in an ordered and therefore rationally deductible universe that gave rise to an ordered mind that is able to detect the order in the universe, initially for survival. The blunt fact that things can be equal and therefore can be distinguished from chaos gave rise to logical absolutes. Logical absolutes reflect the order in our mind, not the environment. That's why they transcend a contemporary environment. Our Newtonian evolved mind takes its scales from the order in the universe, and logical absolutes reflect our scaled mind, not the environment. That was my attempt to explain this phenomenon. Okay, how we have logical absolutes that seems to transcend our mind. Because logical absolutes, they are not prescribed like a doctor. I give you a recipe. They are descriptions, like a photograph. Okay, but why logical absolute seems to transcend environments? For example, although if I shrink to the quantum level, although the environment is radical, okay, the environment is different now, still logical absolute seems to apply. Why is that? Because when I shrink down to the quantum level, I still keep my mind. So logical absolutes reflect the order in my mind, in the order of my Newtonian evolved mind. So my mind is ordered. How we get to this kind of order? From the blunt fact that things can be equal. So I have an ordered mind, evolved to recognize the order in the universe in order to survive. And now logical absolutes reflect the order in my mind, not the order in the environment. Okay, that is an attempt to explain this phenomenon. The other side says that logical absolutes are just prescriptions of God, or they reflect the mind of God. But that presupposes that for Platonic stuff, we necessarily need God as the constant for Platonic stuff to take their objectivity. How that happens? Why? Platonic stuff underlines God. It's not dependent on God. In ancient Greece, there was something called onomos, the law, that even gods obey. What ancient Greeks were noticed is that this kind of truths transcends even gods. Platonic stuff transcends even gods. So theists keep saying that we need an ultimate mind, a logos. We need an ultimate mind so we can have Platonic stuff. Why is that? Where is the connection? In fact, Platonic stuff underlines all minds, including God's mind. Okay, they are blunt facts of reality. They are not. They don't depend on any mind, including God mind. So, okay. So, at the very least, okay, atheists have better arguments. Atheists have better arguments for everything. Now, how that, but now, these people are not, okay, what I'm trying to say now is very important. These people are not saying, I believe in God, like Socrates did, because of rationality. That's fair. Okay, you believe in God. Excellent. You make arguments. Maybe God exists. What they are saying is that because I know God exists, therefore you need to live under my theocratic dictatorship. Okay. This is an overstatement of the truth-bearing ability of Islam. First of all these arguments are deistic arguments. They have nothing to do with Islam. So they take this kind of philosophical arguments and they then base some kind of authority deriving from these philosophical questions. You cannot substantiate this authority from this kind of philosophical questions. In other words, the level of conviction Islam demands cannot be substantiated from the evidence it provides. Islam demands total submission of all aspects of life in a seemingly immoral cult, and the evidence they provide are generalized philosophical arguments that doesn't even include Islam for days. Okay. That kind of conviction Islam demands cannot be substantiated with this kind of evidence. So, whatever you say now, okay, you made a good argument, I made a better argument, but that's irrelevant, my friend. That's for philosophy. That's not for you entering politics. Can you understand now the difference? So, all this kind of argumentation is irrelevant. It's just for philosophy. It makes no difference for the claim Islam makes. And what I said now, God should have knew that, because that's simple logic. So it's the fault of God that he didn't provide the evidence necessary for the level of conviction he demands to be substantiated. And that's an extra proof that this God doesn't exist, because he didn't understood what I just said. And I feel that time's a ways to go on. So where you going with tomorrow? And I see the things I lost to go on. So won't you even care? And I feel it. And I feel it. Where you going tomorrow? Where you going with the lost and found? Feel it, I feel when the dark begins there. We smell, when I feel the light will dance on the weather. So it is raining in your bedroom and I see that these are the lies without a way. So won't you even care? And I feel it. This is easy. Where you going for tomorrow? Where you going with the mask I found? Feel that I feel when where the dogs to find me? Got time for tomorrow to find me. To find me, to find me. Where dogs find me? Got time for tomorrow. To find me, to find me, to find me.